Mary had a little man.
We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Overnight, Kyrie Irving apologizing after a firestorm of criticism and a 5-game suspension without pay from the Brooklyn Nets. Last week, the NBA star, who has a huge social media following, posted a link to a movie that embraces anti-Semitic conspiracy theories and denies the Holocaust. Irving now writing, "To all Jewish families and communities that are hurt and affected from my post, I am deeply sorry to have caused you pain, and I apologize." But it comes after days of combative appearances, including a press conference Thursday, in which Irving did not offer a full apology and refused to answer whether he had anti-Semitic beliefs.
I don't know how the label becomes justified because you guys ask me the same questions over and over again.
I think what people want to hear, though, is just a yes or no on that question. Yes or no.
I cannot be anti-Semitic if I know where I come from.
His team in the NBA frustrated. The Nets writing, "We were dismayed today that Kyrie refused to unequivocally say he has no anti-Semitic beliefs, nor acknowledge specific hateful material in the film." Irving's overnight apology now saying, "I want to clarify any confusion on where I stand fighting against anti-Semitism by apologizing for posting the documentary without context." Rapper Kanye West, who has prominently expressed anti-Semitic beliefs in the past few weeks, weighing in on this controversy before the suspension was announced, tweeting out Irving's photo.
We have NBA stars, we have hip-hop entertainers, all contributing to an environment in which anti-Semitism is unambiguously elevated at levels we literally haven't seen in about 45 years. That's scary.
It comes at a time of heightened fears about anti-Semitism. The New Jersey FBI division tweeting this week that it has received credible information of a broad threat to synagogues in New Jersey. For the Jewish community, the threats making it all the more urgent to fight public anti-Semitism. Irving and the Nets have also said they'll donate $500,000 each to anti-hate organizations. The team said Irving would be suspended without pay for at least 5 games and until he takes measures to address the harmful aspects of his conduct.
Okay, here's my question. What is this all about? What is this new thing with, young hip-hop artists who may or may not be mentally ill and, contrarians that play basketball for the Brooklyn Nets? What is this thing that's going on now where minority communities that are normally allied together in the fight for fairness, justice, and, a sense of being able to weigh in on, politics, are now being torn asunder, are now being divided and siloed, if you will, into, less important groups. Instead of a united group with, the same goals, we're now being divided into this camp and that camp in subcamps. I don't understand. Listen, this guy, Kyrie, I was talking to Brett about him, because I vaguely remembered he was an anti-vaxxer, because I'm not really an NBA follower. I mean, I could watch it. I'm a fan. I like it. It's a good sport. Don't get me wrong. But it's not something that I could name players on a team or, tell you, who won, this season. I just, that's not my thing. But I do remember him. And I remember him during the COVID era. Okay, which, by the way, has been tamed somewhat. But during the height of COVID, I remember he was an anti-vaxxer. I remember that. And I remember that he couldn't play for his own team because he wouldn't get vaccinated. And that he was obstinate about it. Like a real team player. Do you know what I'm saying? Just shoving his team overboard for his own contrarian beliefs, right? And so I thought, okay, maybe he's just a contrarian by nature. Maybe this is who he is. Maybe he just likes, sticking it to people. Maybe he likes to say things that he knows are bizarre. Or not. But you know what? This man was about to lose a ton of money. And he still wouldn't apologize. He still wouldn't do it. So this is more than just being a contrarian, okay? This has something to do with, finding that hypocrisy, meaning his fake apology over there, is easier than losing money, right? He'd rather be a hypocrite than a broke one. That's all I can, deduce here. And this comes, and I've had clips of Kanye in my, library here for a long time. I mean, probably since the middle of October when Kanye first started with his anti-Semitism. And I haven't played it because I just felt bad that maybe he's mentally ill. Maybe he's, having some, episode of mental illness. And you shouldn't really, attack people who are in the throes of, a disorder while they're in the throes of the disorder. That's why I won't play Paul Gosar showing me he's got dyskinesia, which he does. And he's campaigning with Carrie Lake, standing there with his entire body shaking from head to toe. His head moving, involuntary, he's not doing it on purpose. It's involuntary, movements. It's dyskinesia. It's not my thing to, pick on people when they're ill. But something's going on in the community of the GOP worshipers that is affecting safety, right? I mean, the only reason why I bring it up is because last night there was an alert that the FBI felt that they had to put out, telling all synagogues and Jewish day schools in New Jersey that there was a massive statewide threat to all these synagogues. Now, I don't know if you understand synagogues at all, but they have preschools in them. They have 12-year-old boys going there for bar mitzvah lessons. They got all kinds of activities, JCCs and everything else, just like anybody else's organization would have if they tend to a community. And the idea that we saw some crazy person go into the Tree of Life synagogue, sort of recently, and mow down a whole bunch of people there, which was like the biggest, attack on the Jewish community in this country in forever, and that this is a thing now that's actually burling over, and that you have people who are, a natural ally of the Jewish community now peeling off from being allied with the Jewish community in the name of some damn thing. I'm trying to figure out what it is. Is it just that they're Republicans? Is it just that they're mentally ill? Is it just that they're contrarians? I don't know. And I'm trying to understand what this is, because this is bad. This is dangerous. This is literally putting people in harm's way. This is putting children in harm's way. This is just incendiary stuff that doesn't need to happen. And the thing about this guy is he tweeted out, Kyrie Irving, who plays for the Brooklyn Nets, he tweeted out a link, okay? Can you imagine this, okay? Like his Twitter account. For all the millions that he's going to now pay, okay, it could have cost him another $8 because, he's on Twitter now. That's another thing. What are we going to do about that? What are we going to do? Are we going to stay on there? Are we going to not stay on there? It's the whole thing, the whole world is just literally tearing us apart so that we can't talk to each other, so that we can't share ideas with each other, right? Anyway, he tweeted out this link to a movie that's literally called Hebrews to Negroes. What? Hebrews to Negroes, Wake Up Black America. Hebrews to Negroes? Was that produced by Stephen Miller? I mean, this is like the most self-loathing title I've ever... Hebrews to Negroes. Just call it, Yids to Schwarzes. Honestly, I can't believe that. And so I wanted to see, what this was. Because it sounds like an elevator pitch for a racist science fiction movie about lab experiments that have gone horribly wrong. Oh, it's very bizarre. It's a bizarro theory.
A things Randy at randyrhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
The thing about it, me and Adidas, is like, I could literally say anti-Semitic shit and they can't drop me. I could say anti-Semitic things and Adidas can't drop me. Now what?
Adidas is ending its partnership with Kanye West. The German sneaker giant says it does not tolerate anti-Semitism and any other sort of hate speech.
What is with the hate speech? What is this about? What is this, this new thing that is trying to split apart communities that have much more in common than we have differences? What is the deal here? What is the point? What is the goal? Like, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to take power away from a group of people who have allied together in order to amplify their power to do things right and honestly and fairly and get social justice and decent policing and all the things that we care about? Why would you want to do that? He's sitting there wearing a 2024 hat on his head, the Kanye is, okay, saying I can say anti-Semitic crap and no one can stop me and Adidas can't drop me in a very insane way. So at first I just thought, okay, he's got some issues. He's got obviously he was, harassing, after Kim Kardashian dumped him and she started going out with Pete Davidson. I don't know how many of you follow, any of the Kardashian drama, but Kanye started to threaten not just Kim Kardashian, but Pete Davidson. He literally was threatening his life. And so people were like, trying to intervene and say, Kanye, you need help. Kanye, you're getting violent. Kanye, you got to stop. Now, Obama had his number way back in the day. Remember, Obama looked at him and said, oh, he's a jackass. Remember that? He's a jackass. And everybody chalked it up to he was a jackass, but, or maybe he was a musical genius. And this was the, tough road that geniuses have to hoe, because part of their brain is so gifted that the other part is so lacking in empathy and compassion and bullcrap. The guy has been diagnosed as, being a sufferer of, mental illness, and he won't take his meds. And now he's out there saying, really disgusting, dangerous, horrible, violent things about entire groups of people. And you've got this NBA dude who is a flat earther. I mean, Kyrie Irving has, tweeted out that, it is the elite that are trying to make us believe that the world is round, that the earth is a round planet. So, Kyrie, I just want you to understand, next time that there is an eclipse, look at our shadow being cast on the sun or the moon, if it's solar or lunar, and then tell me how the earth is flat if that's our shadow, and our shadow is an orb. Our shadow is round. You see what I mean? I just don't even understand what this is about. Then he goes full on anti-vax and costs his team who were doing okay, an amazing amount of losses because he couldn't play in any of the home games. So why are people not only refusing to be team players or denying things that are observable with the eye, but now attacking a community that has done nothing to you? I mean, nothing bad at all. In fact, we're natural allies. I don't know what's going on except to say that the GOP is very interested in divisive stuff. They're very interested in dividing Americans one against the other. And now they're going for the subsections of people who stay united as, the party that challenges them. Right. And so they're trying to divide people who are against what the GOP has been preaching and selling for a really stinking long time. Obviously, the GOP is the party of the uber elite, the uber rich, the bankers, the insurance companies, the big oil and gas interests, the gougers, the major ag businesses. And if you don't believe me, just go, to opensecrets.org or commoncause.org and look at who gets money from who. And it'll be very crystal clear to you that you have absolutely nothing in common with the GOP wanting to cut taxes on the wealthy unless you are a billionaire who happened to wander into Free Speech TV, okay, and you're watching me now. Otherwise, nothing in common, okay? The GOP is going after Social Security and Medicare. They've already gone after Social Security and Medicare before. You know, if you look at like the Reagan era, after Ronald Reagan tried to talk you into the idea that Medicare and Social Security were socialist and they were bad, and you look at the results of Social Security and Medicare and how people are living longer because they get health care under Medicare, and you look at how people are out of poverty because of Social Security, but then you look back at the history of these things and you realize that they have been, they wrote into the Social Security and Medicare program that the age for full benefits continually goes up. I just want you to know that they're not done with us on the Social Security Medicare front, right? They to get full Social Security benefits in this country now, full benefits, you have to be 70 years old. 70. Medicare kicks in at 65, but they're very interested, the Republicans are, in making the age to qualify for Medicare 70 as well. They want everything to be raised so that so many people will never, ever get it. They will never get their benefits. And that is a cut to the benefit. And they're doing it. They're interested in it. They want, and then there's vile people inside the GOP that want to privatize the whole thing. Meaning, give the money that is in the trust fund to the insurance carriers, to the insurance market, right? And Wall Street loves it. They just, boy, they are just, salivating over the opportunity to get and I've been telling you this forever, that they're not done stealing, that there are tranches of money, big tranches of money still left over, and that is Social Security and Medicare, and they're dying to get their hands on it. And maybe now it's clear to you when I say whose hands, are grasping for it. It's Wall Street. It's Wall Street. It's the insurance markets. It's the healthcare markets. It's like the HCAs. The big giant conglomerates would love to have that money. They would love to take it and privatize all of Social Security and Medicare. And that's really what this is all about as far as, what do they want with us? What do they want, right? And the only way that they can do this is to pick people off. Right? To pick people off and to separate naturally allied groups of people who aren't for this. And that's all I can think of is like how this is permeating into, our society. How you get people saying, really disgusting, hateful, ugly things about, their friends, about people who, vote with them, about people who defend and protect everybody's benefits, everybody's, ability to join a union, everybody's ability to, have a minimum wage, everybody's ability to access health care, everybody's ability to, thrive and survive. I just don't understand it. I honestly, except for the financial interests in doing this, I can't understand why somebody outside of a mentally ill rap star and a contrarian basketball player would fall for this swill. Somebody's going to have to explain it to me.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Now in this last-ditch effort, well, let's lie to senior citizens and scare them to death with lies about Republicans. They want to take away your Social Security and Medicare and cut it. Okay, not a single Republican has ever said it. No Republican supports it.
It will be my objective to phase out Social Security, to pull it up by the roots and get rid of it. People who advise me politically always tell me that's dangerous, and I tell them, in that case, it's not worth my running. That's why I'm doing this, to get rid of that. Medicare and Medicaid are of the same sort and need to be pulled up.
I mean, they're saying it out loud. They're saying it out loud. Joe Biden held up a newspaper yesterday and read from it.
Headline, New York Times. Right, flying out here. Headline, GOP signals plan to shrink Social Security. They're saying it out loud. Congressional Republicans eyeing midterm election victory that could hand them control of the House and Senate, have embraced plans to reduce federal spending on Social Security and Medicare, including cutting benefits for retirees and raising retirement age. They're just saying, they're not even hiding it. They're not even hiding it.
No, they're not even hiding it. They're saying it. They're saying it out loud. They're saying it in fundraisers. They're saying it behind closed doors. They're saying it to the New York Times. They're telling anybody that will listen to them that they want to get rid, or at least start phasing out Social Security and Medicare benefits, even though the cuts would be incredibly unpopular. But check this out. They are done governing with the consent of the governed. They're done. They're literally done with it. This is how we got to a place where 98% of Americans want background checks on guns. 98% do. We saw 75% of Americans believe Roe v. Wade should be the law of the land. 75% of Americans, okay? They don't care. It's no longer governing with the consent of the governed. It's now governing for the elite money. It's what it is. Listen, the idea that the wealthy, this is what this New York Times article actually says, okay? I'm just going to read it to you. So, political scientists have found several areas in which the wealthy want to see spending cut, while most voters want to see it increased. The biggest gap in views is on Social Security, where the rich, by a large margin, want to see benefits reduced, while the general public, by an even larger margin, want to see them increased. And Republicans are taking the side of the rich. There isn't an official GOP position on Social Security and Medicare, but the Republican Study Committee, a caucus of House members that often sets the party's agenda. Now, the Republican Party has no platform, right? But the Republican Study Committee is the caucus in the House that sets the party agenda, has released a very detailed set of proposals titled Reclaiming Our Fiscal Future that would raise howls of outrage from any voters if they knew about it. The committee's proposals center on raising the age at which Americans become eligible for Social Security and Medicare. Its plans call for increasing the age at which workers can collect full Social Security benefits, which has already risen from 65 to 67 to 70. It's currently 70. And then raising it even further in the future as life expectancy goes up, if it does. At the same time, the plan raises the age at which Medicare kicks in, which is still 65, to match the Social Security age. Given the Social Security proposal, this means delaying Medicare eligibility by 5 years to the age of 70, and possibly delaying it even further into the future. The report tries to justify benefit cuts, because that's what they are, by pointing to the rise in life expectancy at age 65. Since these programs, were created, our life expectancy increased. That is, this program, this policy paper argues that our major social benefit programs have become too generous because Americans are living longer. What the report somehow fails to notice, or at least to acknowledge, is that while average life expectancy for seniors was rising before COVID, the rise was very unequal. Gains were much larger for Americans in the upper part of the income distribution, that is, the people who need Social Security the least, than for those lower down who need Social Security and Medicare the most. Other research has shown that gains in life expectancy at age 25, not the same measure but surely related, have been much bigger among Americans with a college degree. In fact, life expectancy has actually declined among non-college whites, and mortality has been diverging among regions with life expectancy at 65 in most states I'm sorry, let me read this right. With life expectancy at 65 in some states, mostly red, significantly below the national average, and in others, mostly blue, significantly above. So basically what I've just told you is that the Republican plan for their base is to kill you. It's for you to die and die quicker. That's what their plan is. And they're right. They're literally, they have policy papers. They have a whole House caucus that is, actually talking to each other about how to get this done. Now, you might say to yourself, if you're smart, you might say to yourself, well, the country is against it, and thank God, the president would veto it, right? I mean, there's no way Joe Biden would sign something like that into law, even if they had the majority. So I don't feel bad if I vote for them because, you got Biden as a backstop, right? And he'll veto. No, but you don't understand. Here's the plan, and this is what we've been trying to explain to you for quite some time now, since we've known that this is their plan, and that is this. They are going to hold the debt ceiling hostage. Okay, they're going to shut down the government or threaten to, and we've seen this threat before. They've done it before, where we saw it go as far as the air traffic controllers weren't able to go to work. Remember that? Yeah, so they're going to do that again, and this time they're going to hold hostage Social Security and Medicare changes to the program, and that is how they're going to get the sign-off. That is what they think can get the sign-off from Joe Biden to raise the age for Medicare to 70 and to raise the age for Social Security to 70 so that you can't even, get partial benefits at 67, which is now you have to be 66 and 8 months. Now, why 66 and 8 months? Because what Ronald Reagan passed was a gradual increase in the age before you could get full Social Security benefits. So right now you can get partial benefits, at 65. And then some benefits increase at 66 and 8 months. And then full benefits at 70. They want to do this with Medicare too. Right ahead of privatizing it.
It's the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
You can take your woke, fiscally irresponsible craziness, and you can take it and go to the Soviet Union. I don't care. This is Iowa.
Okay. So that was the beginning of a very long rally last night in very white, lily white, like pasty white, like ghostly, ghastly white, Iowa last night. Fiscally responsible. You could take your fiscally responsible. I mean, I don't know what they're. This is the whole thing now. Okay, the whole thing is going to be stealing from you. Everything that the Republicans are going to sell now is going to be about fiscal irresponsibility. Fiscal irresponsibility, and we need to cut. We need to cut. But only from you. Only from seniors. Only from disabled. Only from the people who can least afford cuts. That's who they want to cut from. And of course, the fiscally responsible party would never, ever be seeking to take away Social Security and Medicare, would they? No. To what? To do what? To pay for Donald Trump's tax cuts, to make those permanent? Or to stop tax cheats? By saying the IRS will have absolutely no ability to go, drill down on the tax cheats. No. They're the party of the super uber rich. And the super uber rich don't give a rat's ass about who they have to divide, who they have to lie to, how often they have to lie, what they have to do in order to steal from you. And that is the game plan. That is the name of the game. And they're saying it out loud now. And I just want everyone to understand that that's why, this is being said, this is why Joe Biden is trying to tell you something. This is why I'm trying to tell you something. Sean Hannity last night was saying, nobody wants to take away Social Security. Nobody ever said that. And then, of course, it's like a quick edit. And you can find Mike Lee saying it. Marjorie Taylor Greene last night. She was like, no more money for Ukraine if we're elected, because, this is going to be the whole thing. This is going to be the whole thing about we're spending too much. We're spending too much.
The only border they care about is Ukraine.
Ukraine.
Not America's southern border. Under Republicans, not another penny will go to Ukraine. Our country comes first. They don't care about our border or our people.
Right. We don't care about our border or our people, but the Republicans are the impediment to immigration reform. You understand that. The Republicans will never, ever vote for comprehensive immigration reform because it's such a great issue for them. It's so powerful. People love to talk about the border, even though, half of them don't live anywhere near the border this and the border that, and we have to do this. And listen, Trump became president of the United States of America just screaming about the border. Did nothing about the border, did absolutely nothing on comprehensive immigration reform, did nothing at all to, stem just separated, children and women and all that. And it didn't solve our problem because it can't. It can't. The only thing that could solve our problem is comprehensive immigration reform. And the Republicans will never vote for it, ever. They just like pointing at it and screaming about it and screaming some more. But she's like, no more money for Ukraine. Are you freaking kidding me? We sent $66 billion to Ukraine to help them fend off an invasion from Russia, who is responsible in part for the high gas prices that you and me are paying at the pump because they chose to invade their neighbor, okay? Because they did this. So we're sending $66 billion over there. We spent $92 billion just 1 year alone on the child tax credit, okay? On the child tax credit. This is crazy. This is like madness. This insane proclamation that we don't care about our kids or we don't care about the border or we don't. This is just obviously this is all going to be about money for them if they should take control of the House. It's going to be about nothing but investigations and cutting money. That and for what? So that they can make Donald Trump's tax cuts for the wealthy permanent. That's what they want to do. So I'm telling you, last night they had this rally that told you everything. I mean, it just, if you watched it, and I know a lot of people just won't watch it, they can't take it, and I understand. But I did. And I have to tell you, this was all of this craziness was to get an 89-year-old man reelected to the Senate. This whole rally last night was for Chuck Grassley, who's running for what, his eighth term? His eighth term, a 6-year term, each term. His eighth term at 89 years old. That's what this was for. And Grassley, when he got up to the microphone, this 90-year-old man, he said, I just want to prove that I'm worthy by telling you I will never stop investigating Hunter Biden.
I've got several things to say today, but one thing that I want to start out with, so you can have confidence in me if I'm reelected.
Oh my God.
I'm not going to give up on trying to get political bias out of the FBI. And I'm not going to give up on my investigation of Hunter Biden and other Bidens.
And other Bidens. I'm going to investigate all the Bidens. I mean, this is a 90-year-old man who is trying to prove his bona fides to a crowd, a very white crowd in Iowa, by saying he's going to investigate the Bidens. The Bidens. This is what the government is going to spend its time on figuring out whether or not Hunter Biden lied on a gun application. I guarantee you he did. Okay? There you go. We're done. Move on. This is all to steal. This is all about stealing. All of it. All of this anger, all of this hatred, all of this misery, all of this lying, all of this cheating. It's all about stealing. Rick in New York.
Hi, Randy.
Hi, Rick.
Randy. I wanted to first compliment you on your knowledge of medieval Islamic astronomy that the crescent Earth can be seen on a lunar eclipse, outpacing Christopher Columbus and those guys. Anyway, the real point was I've been listening to Timothy Snyder a lot. He's the Yale professor of history who wrote the book on tyranny.
Yeah.
Got a great Substack. Everybody subscribe or catch what's free. He breaks down Russian Christian fascism and its attack on Ukraine. There is a genocide going on. If we ignore it, we're ignoring a major time in history. So when Kanye and Kylie start speaking anti-Semitism, don't discount it by their mental state. Don't discount it by their, likes on Twitter. This is a real thing.
What is the thing, though?
The thing is, it's a fascist idea to divide and conquer. The fascist idea is to define yourself by defining your enemies, not saying what you're for, saying who you're against. And it's a shame that it's creeping in, like you said, to a traditional community, Jewish and Black, who have worked together through their own prejudices throughout the years in this country. And it is a real shame, but it's a wake-up call. And we need to see...
I want to know, what makes Kanye and Kyrie think that they would get favored nation status in the white, Christo-fascist world? What makes them think that they will be spared? I mean, I think guys like Ben Shapiro, who have been, hosting a lot of these Nazi lovers, are starting to see the light too and say, oh my God, they're going to sell me out too. Stephen Miller's got to wake the F up and understand he's not getting favored nation status in a fascist world. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, Doug Mastriato's going down. Hopefully that election denier in Arizona as well.
No, I'm saying a different thing. I'm saying, what is it about these self-loathing Jews and self-loathing African-American men who happen to be very rich? But what makes them think that they're going to get favored nation status, that they're going to be okay in a Christo-fascist world, that they'll be spared? Don't they understand that they're just being useful idiots for the fascists?
For the disruption and the chaos, which leads to, like you said, stealing all the good stuff.
Yes, that's what it's always about. It's always about stealing. I mean, there's no question that the motivation is always money. Money is the root of all evil. So I don't understand, though, what makes them glom onto that Nazi, fascist, Christo-fascist, do they think that... Do they think that...
Not everybody's... I don't know. Not everybody's as evolved as we would hope they are. We have to understand, many people are not that evolved.
Well, they're also, not going to be spared. If they usher in fascism, they will not be spared. The fascism. And they're not going to be looked on with favor.
Mary had a little man. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
There's too much political violence. There's too much intimidation. There are more than 300 election deniers on the Republican tickets this year for state, federal, and local government. And I mean, this is really serious stuff. If a Republican nominee in Congress, for governor in the state of Wisconsin wins, here's what he said. He said, if I win, my party will never lose another election in Wisconsin. Now, he's either a prophet or he plans on doing something about election law.
Right. And as if they haven't done enough about election law. I mean, we're gerrymandered into obscurity. Okay. Yesterday we had a woman call us from Alabama, and she was trying to say, listen, there are a lot of people here who agree with me. It's just our vote is so diluted by virtue of the gerrymandered maps that, I could be in a district with my neighbor who agree on everything, But she votes over there and I vote over here in this district because they diluted our ability to agree on things for our community, right? And we know that. We also know that, there's purging going on. We have voter ID that's required. A lot of people don't have voter ID. You know what I'm saying? And now we have 19 nominees for governorships, 19 states. Like this guy that Biden is talking about here, this guy, Tim Michaels, who's a multi-millionaire many times over. We have 10 races for Attorney General, 12 for Secretary of State, that all don't believe that the election in 2020, was free and fair. They don't believe it. They think something that would have changed the outcome of the election got away from them, got done under the radar. Listen, I want to tell you a story that is current. There is a woman who works in Wisconsin. I think she's a deputy on the election commission for Wisconsin. And she was noticing that the military ballot, only in Wisconsin, I don't know, maybe your state is the same, but I think Wisconsin is probably the only one or almost the only state where this is the lay of the land. But in Wisconsin, if you're a military member, you don't have to register to vote. You don't have to register. You can just get a ballot. I don't know why that is, but that's the way it is. And so this woman who's working on the election commission there knows that that is true. And she decided to use My Wisconsin, the public-facing website, not anything, on the inside, operation system, only the outside. She used the public website, and she put in fake name, a fake address, and a fake date of birth, and said she was a military member and got 3 ballots that way, 3, which is bad, 3 ballots. She sent those ballots to a Republican representative to show that Republican that this could happen. She's now going to go, she's getting charged by the district attorney. She's going to have to defend herself in a court of law for election fraud, because that's the way this country is. That's the way we operate. That's the law. But 3 ballots. Now, the Republican Party is suggesting that you don't get caught when you do 3 ballots. Well, she got caught. She did 3 ballots, as it should be. The people who voted twice here in Florida all live in the villages. But who got arrested? Felons in Miami that happen to be black. The people who voted more than once in Florida were white people in the villages. Retired people in the villages, Trump supporters in the villages. Okay. But the Republican theory is that 20,000 or 50,000 or 100,000 fake ballots could be dumped into an election with ease and never be discovered, and nobody would be any the wiser, and that's what happened in 2020. This is their theory. 3 ballots will get you, arrested in any state at all. Wisconsin is no exception. Florida, they got arrested, but they got community service. Whereas the black people who were sent voter registration cards but were felons and weren't cleared to vote, even though the state told them they were cleared to vote and sent them voter registration card, they have handcuffs slapped on their wrists. You see what the issue is? You see what the problem? So basically, if you cheat, you're going to get caught. That should be the lesson that you take from this. But the Republican Party is very busy trying to convince you that there was massive voter fraud 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago now. That has gone completely undetected, to the point where they have to change all the laws, keeping, people's ability to access their ballot very difficult, very hard. And they have to run for governor of swing states. They have to run for governor of Michigan and Arizona and Wisconsin and Nevada and Pennsylvania. They have to all be in charge of the 2024 election because it was undetected that hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands of ballots were dumped into the 2020 election. This is just pathetic.
Republicans will never lose another election in Wisconsin after I'm elected governor.
You just heard Trump supporter Tim Michels say Republicans will never lose another election in Wisconsin after I'm elected governor. He did not know he was being recorded at that campaign event. The Republican is campaigning for governor of Wisconsin by telling his supporters that he will end democracy in Wisconsin. End it.
Republicans will never lose another election in Wisconsin after I'm elected governor.
That means if the Republican is elected governor in Wisconsin, he will deliver Wisconsin's 10 electoral votes for president to Republicans, no matter what.
Republicans will never lose another election in Wisconsin after I'm elected governor.
He is promising that the next presidential election will not be fair, and he is promising that no election in the state of Wisconsin will ever be fair again if he is elected governor.
Republicans will never lose another election in Wisconsin after I'm elected governor.
That is what is at stake in this election.
Which is a very bold statement for Mr. Michels to make over there. Now, first of all, you should know that Mr. Michels is a multimillionaire. He financed his own campaign with his family money, and he's running even with the Democratic Governor Tony Evers in Wisconsin right now. And by the way, Tony Evers is a mild-mannered Democrat who saw the state through the worst coronavirus, pandemic, ushered in an era of very high employment, improved services, increased funding for education, and balanced the budget in Wisconsin. But this guy, with all his largesse, with all his, money, he's investing in himself so that he could promise that Wisconsin will never, ever have another free and fair election, which is a very bold statement that Republicans will never lose ever, ever again in Wisconsin. When you consider that Democrats have won 8 of the last 9 presidential elections in Wisconsin. Democrats also hold every single statewide constitutional office in Wisconsin, from governor to lieutenant governor to attorney general, secretary of state, Democrat, state treasurer, Democrat, 1 U.S. senator, the other one is Ron Johnson, 3 U.S. House seats, and 50 seats in the state legislature. I would say Wisconsin likes Democratic governors, likes Democratic lieutenant governors, likes attorney generals that are Democratic, likes their secretary of state to be a Democrat, the state treasurer to be a Democrat, prefers a Democratic, Senate in the state legislature, except this guy is promising you will never see another Republican win there?
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
Republicans will never lose another election in Wisconsin after I'm elected governor.
Okay, so how does Tim Michels, the Republican wannabe governor, the election-denying governor, propose to do that? Okay, when we know that Wisconsin has a very Democratic state government and also a very Democratic bent, right? How is he going to? 8 of the last 9 presidential elections, Wisconsin went for the Democratic presidential candidate. 8 out of the last 9 elections. That's a long ass time, right? So this is a bold statement he's making. So what's his plan? What's his plan, everybody? So he wants to replace the Wisconsin Elections Commission, which is currently organized towards guaranteeing nonpartisan management of voter registration, voting, election counting, and recounting by a partisan oversight board. He wants a new commission that would be appointed by him as governor of the state of Wisconsin. Appointed representatives from 8 congressional districts. And because of the gerrymandering, the Republicans already dominate 5 of those 8 districts. and could possibly win a 6th district in Wisconsin in November. And that is where he would get the new partisan oversight board members from. And he would handpick them and appoint them to what is currently the nonpartisan Wisconsin Elections Commission, who will be in charge of everything from voter registration to counting the votes to recounts. This is Steve Bannon's little plan. This is exactly what's going on with the polling places now. This is exactly what's going on with the election, the vigilantes in Arizona that are watching the drop boxes. This is what's going on with some of the poll workers, to the point where the reliable, dependable, nonpartisan poll workers that we've counted on to run our elections forever are now refusing to continue with that as their jobs. They just feel threatened. They feel like I'll show you something. This is sick. This is sad. This is just frightening. But this is an ABC report, just so you know what I'm showing you, about the election, the midterm workers in the election workers, and how they're facing security threats. And some of them are wearing bulletproof vests.
With just days to go before Election Day, poll workers across the country are facing an unprecedented challenge. It's an issue in so many places this year. Michigan's Secretary of State says she's ready to protect the election.
Election officials and law enforcement are more prepared than ever before to immediately address any attempt to interfere or disrupt the elections process or intimidate voters, and they will work with us to ensure that all voters are safe and their rights are protected.
Colorado was one of the first states to send every voter a mail-in ballot. Residents here actually cast more ballots by mail than they do in person. The process starts here. Ballots are dropped into locked boxes that can only be accessed by one of these workers.
Do you ever get people who come up to you and say, "What are you doing?"
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Suspiciously.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That or they're off in the distance.
The yellow vests help.
Nothing. We just watch each other's back.
Here in Adams County, elections are run by first-term county clerk Josh Ziegelbaum. He oversees over 600 election workers and over 300,000 voters. Safety measures here include entrances with badge access and panic buttons under desks. But for Josh, safety measures extend way past the doors of his office.
I have had some incidences in the past where people have followed me back to my neighborhood, but a bit nerve-wracking.
You were followed?
Mm-hmm. That prompted me to start talking with the sheriff about, personal safety. He recommended that I wear a ballistic vest whenever I feel necessary. I wear one pretty much every single day.
You come to work with a bulletproof vest?
Yes.
Nice country you got here. Nice. Nick in West Virginia.
Yes, I'd like to make 2 points if I may.
Okay.
I was at work. I'm in the union, and we just had a big old state up here in West Virginia about 2 years ago, and the teachers got us all raised. Well, we got 2 guys sitting in our shop. I'm a maintenance man at a state hospital.
Okay.
And in the maintenance department, there's 2 guys fixing to come up for retirement. They're all Biden this, and the Democrats that, and they're going to take our guns, and they're going to do this. And so I just let them ramble on, Mm-hmm. Then I play Mike Lee on the hot mic talking about Social Security. Then I play Rob Johnson with his kick about Social Security.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, you fools, you might need all them guns y'all are so worried about them taking, because you're going to definitely need them when you ain't got your Social Security coming in.
Yeah.
Because everybody's going to be trying to rob you. Because they ain't got nothing.
Right.
And guess what? They shut their damn mouth.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
So that argument works. Okay, that's good.
Well, I mean, when you're sitting there and they're adding up their Social Security, one guy was sitting there, if I get 2 more hours overtime, and that will make my, our state retirement go up. And I said, and I just sat and listened to them because they're all on that Trump wagon, but they vote against themselves.
Yeah. They do. And you know why? Because the Republican Party is telling them, to be afraid Always be afraid. Always look over your shoulder. Somebody's going to take something from you as they're taking something from them.
Yeah, their retirement, their Medicaid, and everything else.
Yeah, no doubt.
But that's all I wanted to say, and you have a good day.
Well, thank you, Nick. You too. Have a good weekend. So that works, huh? So you tell them, the argument is, you're so worried about them taking away your guns, but you're going to need your guns because you're going to lose your Social Security and people are going to want to take whatever you have because they got nothing. That's an interesting argument. But yes, they are coming for your Medicare. They are coming for your Social Security. They came for it in 1983. You know what's crazy? These things that you gave up under the Republican Ronald Reagan that everybody just thought was the greatest since sliced bread. He taxed your Social Security for the very first time in the history of Social Security. Now you have to pay tax on that little pittance that you get after you retire that you paid into. So going in, you're paying tax, and going out, you're paying tax on what was already taxed. It's unbelievable. Now they're raising the age, from 65 to 66 in 8 months. Then it's going to be 70. Then they're going to raise Medicare eligibility to 70 to correspond with the Social Security 70-year-old, I mean, it is unbelievable. Well, you know what else they took away from you? Okay, so we all know interest rates are going up, right? Right. You used to be able to deduct your credit card interest, which is, like 25% or some crazy usury amount, right? No, Ronald Reagan took away that as a deduction from you in order to lower the taxes for the wealthiest Americans. Not anything is different, except now there's fewer people to steal from, right? So now they're going to steal from the elderly. Now they're going to steal from the sickest Americans, the seniors.
Clear and connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844.
561-270-3844. To believe that we're going to lose on Tuesday and that they're going to take over, you have to accept certain assumptions. For instance, you have to believe what the pollsters and people have been telling us that since the Roe decision, women were very upset back in June when the decision came down. But now, they've kind of collected themselves and they're not so upset because they're thinking more about the price of a gallon of gas or the can of Campbell's soup is up 27 cents. And you know how women are, they're just once they hear that the soup has gone up 27 cents a can, or the gas, what's gas this week now? It's about 20 cents over last year at this time per gallon. Right away, women are like, I don't need these. I don't need these reproductive rights. I want less at the gas pump. I mean, it's so condescending and so. I just wonder as I watch the news and listen to the pundits and the pollsters. Do they know any women? Is there someone at home that's a woman? Have they talked to anybody really since June? Do people watching this right now? When I say people, I mean I'm talking about men. If you're watching this right now, do you really think that women are just over it?
We're not, just so you know. And Fox News got a hold of that. They saw that Michael Moore was, explaining that women are not exactly willing to go quietly into that bad night and give up our bodily autonomy because some pollsters told Fox News that was so. And so they characterized Michael Moore there as mansplaining to women. He wasn't even talking to us. He was talking to you. He was talking to men. He was trying to explain that Republican pollsters are putting out propaganda saying that, women are over it. Women are done. They're done, protecting their own ability to control their own bodies. We're done with it. And we're good. It took us a little bit, from June to now, but now we're okay. We've wrapped our brains around the fact that we're now, slaves that we now, are being forced to give birth. And that's fine. That's okay. We're good with it. And it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And so you have to understand that what is really going on is that the polls are being conducted and dumped on us by Republican by Republican pollsters, right? And they're just flooding the zone with, this propaganda that, it's very tight, or, it looks like the Republicans might prevail over here, and it looks like Carrie Lake might win in Arizona. Carrie Lake is not going to be the governor of Arizona. And you know why? Because Arizonans understand one thing about Carrie Lake. When she bitches about education, when she bitches about border security, when she bitches about the economy, the Republicans have been running that state for 12 years. And people in Arizona know that. So every time she complains about governors and governing in Arizona and the schools are bad and they're indoctrinated, whatever, it's the result of Republican policies that have been in place in Republican Arizona for freaking 12 years. You've had the majority there. If crime is bad in Arizona, it's because Republicans are in charge of crime in Arizona. You know who's in charge of crime, right? Mayors, police, police chiefs. Has nothing to do with the president of the United States, whether or not crime is high in your state. Presidents of the United States have nothing to do with crime in your state. Your governor does. Your mayor of your city does. Okay? Your police, the fact that the Uvalde police were too afraid to go into the school is not a reflection on Joe Biden. It's a reflection on your governor and the way he runs the Department of Public Safety in Texas, where they feel completely free to not respond if they don't feel like it. So you have to understand that we're being prepped, primed, pre-greased, pre-oiled. Yes, I said it that way. That's what's going on here. We're being groomed, to use their word. We're being groomed, indoctrinated into an idea of complete and utter falsity. And that is that women are fine with giving up their reproductive rights because they don't want to pay $3 for a bag of Fritos. I don't want to pay $6 for a bag of Stacy's pita chips. I don't want to pay $4.50. Okay? But I'm not voting for a Republican because I'm so stupid that I think that they have something to do with the fact that this chip company is gouging me. And if they do, if the government does have something to say about it, I promise you, the Republicans are not going to be the ones that tell them to stop the gouging. And you know how you know this? We actually had a piece of legislation called the anti-gouging bill that was introduced by Democrats, and every single Republican voted against stopping the gouging. Against it. Every one of them. They were for gouging. You understand? They were for it. Pro-gouging. The party of pro-gouging. Because they're the party of the rich. They're the party of the people who are doing it to you. Linwood in Virginia.
Randy?
Yes?
It's good to hear from you. But to put this on the table, see, a lot of our Democratic voters, not all, but there are voters who are Democratic that only vote in one election, and that is the presidential election. As you clearly know, I'm in Virginia where this happened with Youngkin, where he barely got through with just 50-point-some% of the vote, mainly because of non-white voters dissipating. Like, well, Joe Biden didn't do anything. We didn't get our Voting Rights Act. We didn't get this that he said we were going to get. So we're just going to sit this one out.
Yeah, who was the candidate? Who was your Democrat?
We had Terry McAuliffe, of course.
Hello.
But what I'm saying to you is, Randy, is that what I'm saying, Randy, is this. Democratic voters typically, when Roe v. Wade got overturned, it was we're fighting for women's right to have an abortion in the states and yada yada yada, but it dissipated. It took a back seat to inflation. It took a back seat to the economy, even though the economy is doing pretty well. It's just that the Republicans have a better way of keeping people angry and keeping people feared and keeping people just on edge. And most of this is targeted. Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
I was going to say, they're just better salesmen. That's all they are. They're just better salesmen than we are. We're policy people. We're geeks, we're wonks, and we're policy people. They, on the other hand, are, P.T. Barnum. They believe that a sucker is born every minute. It also matters who the candidate is, Linwood. It does. It matters who the candidate is. We have some amazingly good candidates this time around. And I don't think women are exactly over it because the price of a can of soup went up 20 cents or 27 cents, whatever it is. You're actually halfway buying in to what they're selling. Democrats aren't as enthusiastic. That's not true either. They tried to sell you that in 2018. Didn't work out that way, did it? No, they lost their majority. Hello.
It's the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
I was just thinking about something about the difference between Republican-run states and Democrat-run states. Let me know if you've thought about this, and if you are a MAGA, what's your response? Imagine if blue states had a 40% higher murder rate than red states. Imagine if blue states were only 29% of America's economy and red states were 71%. Imagine if 9 of the top 10 states to get federal welfare benefits from the government, these handouts, were blue states. Imagine if 9 of the top 10 states for maternal mortality and infant mortality were blue states. Imagine if 9 of the top 10 states for gun violence and gun death were blue states. But you know why you never hear Republicans cite those statistics? Republicans scream about law and order, but have a 40% higher murder rate than blue states. Republicans scream about the economy, but 71% of the economy is from blue states, only 29% from red states. Republicans claim they despise the federal government, but 9 of the top 10 states to get federal handouts are red states. Republicans claim guns make us safer, but 16 of the top 17 states with gun violence and death rates are GOP states. Republicans claim they are the party of pro-life, but 9 of the top 10 states for maternal mortality and infant mortality are Republican states. So Republicans and MAGAs, here's my very simple question to you. Everything you claim your policies will do, our policies actually do. So my question is, what exactly are you fighting for?
Qasim Rashid, everybody. Qasim Rashid. And if you need, that, go to my Twitter feed, at Randi Rhodes, and you'll see that I retweeted this so you can have it. And you can show it to any MAGA family member that you might have or any MAGA friend that you still have. I doubt any of us have MAGA friends anymore because, they would have killed us by now. So we've separated. But, these are useful statistics. These are useful facts. These are things that are true. Every single thing that the Republicans say they're for, we've already done. Every one of their ridiculous policies that they say will bring prosperity, will bring good education, will bring job, we've already done. We've already done. 79% of the economy, blue states. Almost all of the murder, red states. All of the infant mortality, red states. See what I'm saying? They can't possibly argue with that. They can't. They might try, but they won't succeed. Brother David.
So very true, sister. So much to say, so little time to say it. Quick shout out to the chat room. You know what to do. 10 people who don't, send them to freespeech.org or randyrhodes.com. All else will. And by the way, I love I haven't been in a while. The website looks great. Yours. It's spectacular. Here we are. It is fermented fascists forcing females to fight or flight Friday. It's where we are. Rovember is here. And that's just one part of it. Do you have Spotify?
No.
Do you listen to streaming music?
Yes.
Check out You Need to Hear, the new cast recording, the 2022 cast recording with Sarah Bareilles and Brian Darcy Jones, etc., of Into the Woods, because I got to tell you, it's all in there. the giant attacking, people to get their wish bending and cheating, etc. And then it all comes down. It's just there. That show could have been written this morning. That's the end of that one, but it really could have. There are still more of us, and I'm not saying that glibly, because the way the planet is heading, I don't mean tomorrow, but we're heading towards global governance, one way or the other. And there's two ways it can fall. We've had this discussion before. It's either Brave New World, where all the boats are going in the same better direction in together, or it's Cormac McCarthy's The Road, all those climate deniers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'll take the former, thank you very much. That's why I keep saying we've got to put our John Lewis suits on and be prepared. Because I don't have to wait for the results, which probably won't even happen in some races until Thursday.
Right. We're in for the ride of our lives next week. I hope everybody's prepared for
really
the lying and the accusations.
And the loud.
Oh, God. They're going to be so loud and so wrong. It's just...
exactly.
Yeah.
We have to withstand it because there are still more of us. And... the people are coming. I believe this. I don't believe. I believe Zip. I'm like Fran Lebowitz there. I know it. I know it in my marrow.
Well, if you listen to people who are actually, sitting on the fence and counting the people who are showing up to vote, and then yes, the people are. Listen, I'm going to show you this. I don't think there's any audio on this. It's just video. No, there's some audio, but it's quiet. See this? This is a line in Texas.
Right.
Of millennials and Generation X, Gen Z, all waiting in line to vote. These are young people who the Republicans are telling us aren't showing up.
Yeah.
Well, am I going to believe my own stinking eyes here? Because look, this line wraps around the building. And it keeps on going all the way to the end of that building. And then it's going to wrap around again. And it's going to keep on going. Look, these are all Gen Zs. These are all young voters, okay, waiting in this monster line to vote. So why would I believe that the people aren't coming when I can see the people standing there after they came? I don't know.
My point entirely. Your point is my point. You nailed it in the last hour. The love of money is still the root of all evil.
Oh, it always is, yeah.
But that's not the goal. That's the tool. The goal is domination and subjugation and God knows what else. Turn the pyramid upside down.
Well, it's a simple explanation. I mean, the money is for something, right? Once you have enough and it still obsesses you, then why do you want more? Well, because you want power, and you feel like that's the way to get power, and that's all. That's what it's about. It's like a bunch of little tiny men just whipping it out and trying to knock stuff off their desk at this point. I mean, it's just so ridiculous what's going on here, and we're all supposed to subjugate ourselves so that they can continue their little contest. Oh, bite me. Really, go away. I've had enough of you.
Not.
Had enough of it. Enough of tiny little men. Really, I'm sick of it. But I was going to say, Stacey Abrams also was saying that she's never seen black turnout like this in Georgia. And it's like, legion, okay? People are showing up. So, like I said, the propaganda is trying to tell you that, it's a done deal. And next week when, they declare victory before the votes are counted, you're supposed to fall for it. Do not.
Bingo. I love you always.
I love you always. Thank you. Don't believe it. Believe your own eyes, okay? Believe the math.
The numbers are extraordinary. We have seen black men participate at 91.8% of their 2020 general election turnout. We have seen black women participate at 90%. These are the two highest concentrations of voters. And let's be clear, they are participating despite the impediments of SB 202, despite the racially charged voter challenges authorized by SB 202, despite the barriers to using absentee ballots, which black voters used in abundance in 2018 and 21 until the time was truncated and the process made more complicated. They are doing this despite hurdles and barriers because they know how vital this election is. And it is deeply disingenuous, if not simply tone deaf, for a Secretary of State or a governor to dismiss the difficulties black and brown voters have in this state simply because they haven't experienced it themselves. And what we are so excited about is, despite the difficulties that have been put in place by this governor and this Secretary of State, black voters are showing up, and as we like to say, showing out.
Yeah, and young voters are too, and so are white Democratic women showing up. We're showing out, and that's what I'm saying. This is all to dampen your enthusiasm, to make you think it's done. Nothing's done. If you haven't voted, it's certainly not done. You haven't had your say. You haven't exerted your power. You haven't done anything. I want you to know today is the last early voting day in Georgia. Today is the last day to vote early in Georgia. Then you can vote on Election Day. But we're not done. We're not even close to done. It's certainly not banked. Nothing's been counted, and they're already declaring victory. What does that tell you? It tells you how disingenuous they are. It tells you that their MO has always been the same. Dampen enthusiasm by saying, there's no point. You don't count. You don't matter. You're in the minority. You're the minority. Wrap your brain around that. And then they declare victory prematurely, because that's what men do prematurely. Everything is premature. And, they try and lie to you after the fact and said, you had a great time, but we won. No. We're on track to win this. Go and vote. Send in your ballot. Send in your ballot.
Mary had a little man. The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me. Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
Now listen, I understand that democracy might not seem like a top priority right now, especially when you're worrying about paying the bills. But when true democracy goes away, we've seen throughout history, we've seen around the world, when true democracy goes away, people get hurt. It has real consequences. This is not an abstraction. Governments start telling you what books you can read and which ones you can't. Dissidents start getting locked up. Reporters start getting locked up if they're not towing the party line. Corruption reigns because there's no accountability. People get hurt. There are consequences. There's a reason why generations of Americans fought and died for our democracy. There's a reason why suffragists and union members and civil rights activists marched and struggled, and in some cases gave their lives for this precious thing, this experiment in self-governance. They understood how precious it was. They fought to broaden and expand who would be included in we the people. And they understood that when democracy withers, it's hard to restore. You can't take it for granted. You have to work for it. You have to nurture it. You have to fight for it.
So that's where we are. Hello, everybody. Happy Monday to you. We'll have a hurricane here in South Florida sometime this week. Hey, it's only November. It's Thanksgiving. We're going to have a Thanksgiving hurricane. Isn't that fun? So everything's on the line. Everything from climate change to the economy, to the way we are policed, to, investments in America, to whether or not we build things in America, to whether or not we, continue to staff out. I don't know what to say, our supply chain. We say, when China gets done with COVID and their zero COVID policy, maybe they'll get back to work, and then maybe we can get some chips. Maybe we could, you know what I'm saying? So everything is on the line, from the economy all the way to the actual democracy itself. So I'm not telling you to vote for Democrats because I don't want you to vote for Republicans, although that's a really good reason too. It's because you need to vote against people who are seriously deranged again. People who won't accept the results of the election unless they like the results of the election. This might very well be the last election that we have. If people like the entire Arizona ballot gets elected, we won't have any more elections in at least Arizona. I mean, you have people that are saying things like, they want to jail journalists, that real news is fake and fake news is real. You have people that are saying abortion is murder. There should be no exceptions at all. We're going to choose for you. We're going to choose for half of the population of the United States of America what we want to see happen when you become pregnant. We want to choose whether or not you should become pregnant by, weighing in on whether or not contraception is okay. You even have guys that are on the ballot that are against in vitro fertilization because they think that the explanation they received of what's involved is gross. Not kidding. So this is a very significant election, even though it's just a midterm, even though it is. There's so much going on. There's so many, disorienting things going on. First of all, on the Twitter, I don't know what to do about it. I honestly, listen, when I realized that Facebook was participating in psychological profiling of Americans, when I realized that Facebook was, actually promoting and getting paid in rubles for Russian disinformation, I stopped, pretty much going on there as far as, using it for conversation or using it for anything except, people like to watch the show there. Other than that, you're not going to see me, Facebooking, facing, booking, whatever the nomenclature is for that. I don't think we have nomenclature for that. But, like this whole thing, that just happened to Twitter, where Elon Musk last week was telling you that Nancy Pelosi's husband was like in a gay affair or something like this, and that's what happened to him, rather than you had a right-wing lunatic, mentally ill, deranged person who wanted to hurt Nancy Pelosi go into the house at 2:30 in the morning to tie him up to wait for Nancy Pelosi so he could break her knees, right? But no, it turned into some, some theory that Elon Musk had, that there was more to the story than meets the eye, and that it was, some gay rendezvous that went awry. And of course, the right-wing media picked it up. They ran with it. They're still saying it. They said it over the weekend. It's really pretty sick. It's really pretty disgusting. But, this is what they're saying.
I'm outraged for Nancy Pelosi. This woman has taken the hard-earned money she's made from insider trading and invested in a pair of cans at 82 years old, and comes home to find out that her husband's playing hide the hammer with a Black Lives Matter guy? You talk about disrupting the nuclear family. The Black Lives Matter crew must be ecstatic because this guy's doing it, and so is Paul Pelosi. I'm upset for Nancy. She spent her hard-earned money on a pair of cans, and he's not interested.
Okay, you understand what he's inferring there? He's saying that she had breast implants to appeal to Paul Pelosi in their 80s, and that he's not responding to her fake cans, okay? And he is, playing hide the hammer with a guy who literally broke into their house, terrified this family, held him hostage, literally was going to tie him up, wait for Nancy, and was going to break her knees if she didn't admit to some damn conspiracy theory that this guy has in his head that Nancy Pelosi needs to admit to. This is the sickest media environment I've ever seen, ever. And listen, we've worked through, the advent of Fox. We've worked through, the destruction of CNN. We're working through. They're hammering away at CNN. They're literally taking that place apart. That place is just, it is just bizarre what's going on over there. But I mean, honestly, this is the environment in which we are, operating and trying to maintain some sort of decorum, B, some sort of fact-finding mission, C, some sort of decency, some sort of, ideal American value that says that, you respect your opponent. Your opponent is allowed to disagree with you, but you respect them and you respect their right to have their vote counted. But no. This whole bet is off now. They don't respect people who disagree with them on the other side of this, debacle. They don't respect them enough to say that our votes should be counted or that our votes matter. They won't even admit or say out loud that they will respect the result of an election. Okay? I mean, Carrie Lake refuses to say.
Will you accept the results of your election in November?
I'm going to win the election, and I will accept that result.
If you lose, will you accept that?
I'm going to win the election, and I will accept that result, because the people of Arizona will never support and vote for a coward like Katie Hobbs, who won't show up on a debate stage.
Okay, this is all very troubling. Ron Johnson from Wisconsin.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
Whether to accept the results of the election is also an issue in Wisconsin's Senate race. Republican Senator Ron Johnson, who is trying to hold off Democratic candidate Mandela Barnes, was asked today if he would accept the outcome of the midterms.
Do you commit to accepting the results of Tuesday's election?
I sure hope I can, but I can't predict what the Democrats might have planned.
Is that essentially, it depends on what you see?
It has to. I mean, let's see how this plays out.
We will see how this plays out. That is called the Trump effect.
I mean, this is just so un-American. This is so anti-democratic. It's something else. And, some people are willing to call it what it is, which is fascism, authoritarianism, a takeover, a complete annihilation of the democracy that we all take for granted. And we cannot. We cannot take it for granted. I mean, this is a sitting senator, a United States Senator, Ron Johnson, who is telling you he will not accept the results of the election. He'll have to wait and see. This is what Donald Trump did. This is what he did to this country. He literally poisoned our ability to accept the results of free and fair elections. It's sick. It's sad. And now the Department of Justice is apparently fanning out across the United States to 64 different cities to monitor the polling places, to monitor and make sure that people are, don't have their civil rights taken away. I mean, this is outrageous. It is just the most heinous attack I've ever seen. And we haven't even, had the election day yet. I mean, yes, a lot of people voted early. I think like 42 million of us did. I know I did, and I never do. But I don't want to be involved in, violence. I don't want to see violence. I don't want to have to report violence. I didn't want to, have to run away or beat somebody up or make a decision either way. So I just voted early, and I know millions of us did that. Millions. I don't know how many, people who voted early this time didn't vote early last time, but I'm telling you, I'm one of them. And everybody's bracing for the threats. Everybody's, we had to go to court to get those tactical gear wearing, mask wearing, ballot box watchers, conspiracy theorists. We had to go to court. And finally, a court said, yeah, that's intimidating. You really shouldn't be able to get within 75 feet of a drop box when you're wearing tactical gear and armed. It could be seen as being somewhat intimidating. Yeah, like that much, right? I mean, it's unbelievable.
Warnings are now coming from election officials in several different states who say efforts to intimidate voters and undermine public confidence in the electoral process are intensifying, even as voter fraud is rare. And NBC News says election officials are on alert for conspiracy-fueled threats. They're also reporting increased harassment of poll workers, and they worry that any delay in results could lead to even more lies about, quote, stolen elections. One top official in the battleground state of Michigan says she knows what's coming and she's ready.
what the effect of the multi-year effort we've been engaged in protecting democracy against constant misinformation, constant barrages of attempts to delegitimize our processes, is that we are more prepared than ever to protect every voter and protect election workers in this state. And if anyone's trying to intimidate voters or disrupt our processes on Election Day, we've got a plan in place to minimize that disruption and seek immediate consequences.
Democratic candidates also worried about the effect of conspiracy theories on next Tuesday's election. Arizona Senator Mark Kelly is in a tight re-election race against the Republican 2020 election denier, Blake Masters.
I worry about this election in 2022. I worry here in Arizona possibly being the ground zero of a really challenging period in our country's history with regards to democracy. And it's not only my race, it's the governor's race, Secretary of State, Attorney General. Those races are critical. Every candidate on the other side, I think it's very fair to say, question the 2020 election because their guy didn't win. And will say things to try to convince people that the election is stolen.
Seriously, and we already just, played you already, Carrie Lake saying, she'll accept the result when she wins, right? This is when she'll accept the result. You have Blake Masters, who has been supported by a billionaire, Peter Thiel. He spent $15 million on Blake Masters' campaign for the Senate in Arizona. Thiel believes women getting the right to vote was bad for democracy. Yeah, Peter Thiel, billionaire, thinks that women getting the right to vote was bad for democracy. He was one of Donald Trump's biggest 2016 donors. And he had a biography written about him, and he has an economic and political philosophy that borders on fascism. And people understand that. But back to Blake Masters. Blake Masters says he's quote, I'm 100% pro-life. He recognizes unborn babies are human beings that may not be killed. Okay. He had this all over his website until it started polling poorly. And then he switched his position to 15 weeks with no exceptions for rape and incest. How generous of him. How lovely. How giving. How egalitarian. How lovely. One of the people he admires is Singapore's Lee Kuan Yew, who is a dictator. And the reason why he admires Lee Kuan Yew in Singapore is because he believes that under or uneducated people must undergo sterilization and not be able to reproduce. And, this is also a man who used defamation suits to disparage and discourage public criticism of himself. Blake Masters also says everybody ought to read Ted Kaczynski, also known as the Unabomber, ought to read his 1995 manifesto. He promotes a racist theory that Democrats want to replace white Americans with non-white immigrants, also known as replacement theory. He has blamed gun violence on black people. And he also is very, very close with a white nationalist website that has nice things to say about him, known as the Daily Stormer, which is pure Nazi. That's Blake Masters. I mean, Arizona, there's something really, going on there that is just completely unholy and bizarre. We got tons of people who are just wrecked, emotionally, who are wrecked, as far as morality goes, who are, women haters, who are, people that really believe that, America went south once women got the right to vote, that America went south after Reconstruction, wink, wink. I mean, it's just, but Arizona, I swear to God, I don't think there's one person on the Republican side of that ballot that believes in free and fair elections, or one person on that side of the ballot that believes that, women are completely capable of making their own medical decisions, or one person on that side of the ballot that doesn't believe that the 2020 election, which is almost 3 years ago now, was rigged. Okay? Mark Fincham, who's running for Secretary of State in Arizona, okay, this guy is a self-identified oath keeper. This guy was at the January 6th insurrection. He believes in every QAnon conspiracy theory that ever came down the pike, and he's an election denier, and he wants to run elections.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
There's this common thread. There's this thing that binds us together as Americans. A belief that no matter who we are or where we come from, what we look like, who we love, what our last name is, how we worship, a belief that all of us matter. The kind of slash and burn politics that we're seeing right now, that doesn't have to be who we are. We can be better. And it has nothing to do, by the way, with political correctness or being too woke. It's about fundamental values that my grandparents from Kansas taught me. Values I grew up with, values you grew up with, values we try to teach our kids, values we learn in churches and mosques and synagogues and temples, honesty, fairness, opportunity, hard work, values that Josh Shapiro and John Fetterman stand for, values that Joe Biden stands for, values that were enshrined in our founding documents a few miles from here, a clarion call for freedom and equality that Philly's own Liberty Bell represents. That's what America stands for. That's who we are. So if you're anxious and frustrated right now, don't complain, don't mope, don't tune out. Get off your couch and do what? Put down your phones and do what? Vote for Josh Shapiro. Vote for John Fetterman. Vote for leaders who will fight for you and your families. Vote for folks who will fight for that big, inclusive, hopeful, forward-looking America that we believe in. Who will work with Joe Biden to build a country that is more fair and more just and more equal and more free. That's our task. Let's get to work.
That is our task. Did you get chills from him?
You remember that guy? Remember when he used to lead the free world? My goodness.
I have never seen him this worked up. Honestly, I've never seen him this passionate about an issue. I mean, I understood when he said there is no red America, there's no blue America, there's just one United States of America. That was a clarion call. That was a wake-up call that, you know, we were being divided, and we were. And you know, obviously they created, the birtherism movement, which was Donald Trump's baby. Okay, that was his, that was his gift to the political universe, that Barack Obama needs to show his birth certificate. He's not American. He's from Kenya. He doesn't look like you. He can't think like you. He can't govern with you or for you or about you because he doesn't get you. Whatever. And then the next thing you know, we got health care, and they put Obama on a poster looking like a witch doctor from, an African, tribe with a bone through his nose. This was the division. This was how they decided to wedge us apart. But now we're at this point where, and I've never heard him this enthused about, getting people involved because the issue is democracy itself. I've never seen him this worked up about anything. But what he's telling you is that along the way, while they were dividing us, while they were making us afraid of God knows what, mystical unicorns that were going to come and shoot you at the dollar store in the middle of the day, I have no idea. I mean, this fake thing with the Willie Horton and the crime thing and every other, ridiculous assertion that the Republicans make whenever there's a Democrat at the helm, whenever there's a Democratic president. Why? You must realize that things are just going south. Things are just terrible. Things are just worse than they've ever been. Things are just horrible. Things are, and they just, tell you that the answer to any of your issues, the answer to any of your problems is to lose respect for your neighbor. That's the answer. The answer is forget the golden rule. Forget being decent. Forget being kind. Forget being neighborly. Forget being helpful. Forget being democratic in our decision making. Forget being a representative republic. Forget all that. Forget respecting other people's votes. You don't have to respect other people's votes. You get to deny their votes are real. You get to deny their voice matters. You get to disrespect everything about that other human being. You get to do all of that, and you get to now say that America would be better if just one person, just one singular person was in charge of everything all the time. If we didn't have to be bothered to vote, if we didn't have to be bothered to make decisions at the school board, if we didn't have to bother to be showing up for, whatever it is that involves a community's, assent or agreement. You don't need to do that. One person is going to, fix it because he alone can fix it. And they're competing now amongst themselves in that party that believes that one man alone should fix it or could fix it or would fix it. And now you have Ron DeSantis who is saying he was created by God. I swear to God, this is really sick, okay? Ron DeSantis, I understand you haven't seen all his ads because, he's here in Florida and it's a local election. And, it looks like he's going to, be on a glide slope into winning, the governorship again. I would beg you, Florida, not to let that happen. Truly. Beg you not to let that happen. This man is banning books. This man is deciding, what and how women will have families, or you men will have families with the person that you decide to have a family with. He is literally anti everything that makes America a melting pot, or everything that makes America, I don't want to say a melting pot. I've never believed we're a melting pot. We don't melt and meld together. We're like a salad bowl, okay, where the carrots don't meld with the celery. The onions are, unique. They can make you cry, but you don't, see them melting into the lettuce. They maintain their ability to make you cry, but somehow it's delicious. Do you know what I'm saying? But anyway, he's now he put out an ad. I've been seeing it all over the place. I'm not going to play this one for you, but he put out an ad where he's claiming that he won't say this, but he got all this money from the American Recovery Act, all this money from the Inflation Reduction Act that made the largest investment in clean energy in the history of the United States, right? Joe Biden and the Democrats were able to get the Inflation Reduction Act passed and signed into law. And now you have all these, hangers-on, these wannabes, these never-will-bes, these guys that want to take credit for everything other people did. And so Ron has been running this ad that says, that he made the largest investment in, the Everglades and saving the Everglades. And he actually says in the ad that he saved the Everglades for God. I swear to God. So I thought that was pretty gross. That was really disgusting. That was disingenuous. That was taking credit for somebody else's work, something that he would have voted against in the first place, and then equating himself with doing God's work. And he didn't even do the work. But now we have the ultimate ad of blasphemy.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
This is Ron DeSantis's new ad. Okay, if you had any question in your mind about white nationalism, white Christian nationalism, and its appeal to the base of this particular anti-democratic party, let me disabuse you of any hesitation you may have had or may be harboring, trying to tell yourself it isn't that bad.
And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a protector. So God made a fighter. God said, I need somebody willing to get up before dawn, kiss his family goodbye, travel thousands of miles for no other reason than to serve the people, to save their jobs, their livelihoods, their liberty, their happiness. So God made a fighter. God said, I need someone to be strong, advocate truth in the midst of hysteria, someone who challenges conventional wisdom and isn't afraid to defend what he knows to be right and just. So God made a fighter. God said, I need somebody who will take the arrows, stand firm in the wake of unrelenting attacks, look a mother in the eyes and tell her that her child will be in school. She can keep her job, go to church, eat dinner with friends, and hold the hand of an aging parent taking their breath for the last time.
Oh, dear God.
So God made a fighter. God said, I need a family man. A man who would laugh and then sigh and then reply with smiling eyes when his daughter says she wants to spend her life doing what Dad does. So God made a fighter.
Holy crapola. Blasphemy much? God created Ron DeSantis because God needs a protector. What, Moses wasn't good enough for God? I just, this is so disgusting. This is so presumptuous. This is such blasphemy. This is such crap. Okay? Nobody thinks that God would have made a bully like Ron DeSantis in his image. Okay? Is your God a hateful mofo? I don't even understand this. How is this possible? Who could this possibly appeal to? First of all, it's a ripoff of Paul Harvey, which everybody, who's old enough to remember remembers. And that had to, this Paul Harvey thing there, that had to do with why God made farmers who grow food. Not why God made bullies like Ron Death Sentence. Not why God made liars like Ron Death Sentence. Not like God made a guy who is a science denier who says, hey, 82,000 old people can just die because I believe in a free enterprise system. I thought God said, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's and render unto God what is God's. Right? But oh no. Now, God and Caesar, they're down. They're together. They're good. They're good to go. They're all about fascism. Ron DeSantis thinks he's Jesus Christ. Donald Trump thinks he's Jesus Christ. You understand that this is like a battle that's just waiting to play itself out in 2024? I don't really want to be a part of it. I don't really want to do anything to help that thing happen, that battle between, Trump and DeSantis. And that's where it's heading. So my whole goal here in Florida is to make sure or to try to help Charlie Crist replace Ron DeSantis so Ron DeSantis can be pegged as the loser he is right now. Not in 2024 when he goes up against, another flaming fascist. I mean, this is going to get ugly. And Donald Trump, he must have seen that ad because he decided to give Ron DeSantis a nickname this weekend. And like the whole Republican Party literally blew up in Trump's face going, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? We need to win Florida. What are you doing?
But we have the best poll numbers. Where are they? Are they putting them up on the screen? I think so. Put them up. Look. No, we're putting them up. We're winning big in the Republican Party for the nomination like nobody's ever seen before. Let's see. There it is. Trump at 71. Ron DeSanctimonious at 10%. Mike Pence at 7. Oh, Mike's doing better than I thought. Liz Cheney, there's no way she's at 4%. There's no way. There's no way. But we're at 71 to 10 to 7 to 4. Ted Cruz is doing a good job, by the way. He didn't like me for a while, but we got to be friends, right?
I mean, this is his pitch, okay, to the people of the United States of America. And it's all about him. It's all about him. And Death Sentence's ad is all about him. But not just him, like him. Like they both think they're God. Church much? Narcissism much? I mean, what is That's why I voted for Charlie Crist. And that's why I keep telling you, Charlie Crist is my new best friend. Why? Well, first of all, when Charlie Crist was governor, I barely remember it, and I'm completely political. And that's a good thing. That means there was really no drama when Charlie Crist was the Republican governor of Florida. Really no drama. So I had no problem voting for him. First of all, he's been a Democrat for 10 years now. I think he made his choice. But, yeah, he was governor of Florida, and I don't remember any drama. I don't remember any contratops. I don't remember book burning. I don't remember, bullying gay kids. I don't remember bullying transgender kids or their parents. I don't remember any of that happening. I don't remember comparing himself to God. And I know Charlie Crist is a religious guy. I know he is. I don't remember any bands on my body. I don't remember him, picking fights with other people. I don't remember any kind of craziness. I just don't. And it was always Florida. And we always had Florida man. Okay. And I just don't remember Charlie Crist's governorship as being a time of peril or a time of fear or a time of crazy. So I voted for him. But I voted for him for two reasons. One, because he's low drama, and also because he's decent and respectable as a human being, even though when he was governor, we were from different parties. But I don't remember him ever saying I couldn't respect that he didn't respect me because I was a Democratic broadcaster in his state that was, not for, his reelection. He never disparaged anybody ever. So, but the other reason is because if death sentence isn't put down now, quietly and without, a lot of yelping, if he's not, helped along to end his political career now, then in the next year, you'll see that we're not even going to have a governor of Florida. We won't. He's going to be running for president from the very second those ballots are counted, and he's declared the winner of the governorship of Florida. He will quit being governor of Florida. He's never really been the governor of Florida. He's never done anything ever except ban books and say don't say gay and attack Disney and some of our biggest businesses that we have here in the state of Florida under the auspices of him being pro-business. He's literally attacking businesses because they won't attack children, because they won't attack kids. It's really sad and sick. But if we can just make him a loser now, and I listen, I don't know whether or not it's in the cards. I have no idea. And people who are telling you that, this is done or that's done or the polling says this or the polling says that, they're full of crap. The polls have never been right. They weren't right in 2020. They weren't right in 2018. They weren't right in 2016. Polls were never right. So why do we listen to the pollsters tell us this or that, right? And honestly, I don't know. I don't know how it's going to look next week. And will we know Tuesday night? No, I don't think so. I have no idea. And I don't think we'll know Tuesday night either because, we have states that the Republican legislature voted not to count mail-in ballots until the close of the polls on election night. Some states don't even begin. They could have started now if the freaking Republican legislators would have let them do it. They could have been counting paper this whole time. But oh, no, that would be too efficacious. That would be too... What? What's the word? What's the word when something is, organized? Yeah, so they don't want that. So we can't count. I mean, it's going to be days and days before we know who won. Days and days, and they're going to tell us it was stolen.
Mary had a little man. The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America. From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
It depends on you. Now, Republicans know this. And that's why they're doing everything they can to prevent you from voting. This is one of the only major parties in worldwide that actively tries to discourage citizens from voting. Hey, don't boo. Vote. Vote. They can't hear you boo, but they'll hear your vote. So they pass laws to make it harder to vote. A lot of times, many of the elected officials or the people who are running to run elections right now are suggesting that maybe they would not count votes, nullify votes, overturn votes. But the big tactic that they're going to use, because they always do this, especially in midterms, year after year, election after election, they will try to make you afraid. They will resort to fear. They want to scare the living daylights out of everybody. And most of the time, those fears have a very slender relationship to reality.
Seriously, it is the tried and true playbook of the Republican Party. They have been doing, fear of the black man on the television since television. They've been doing it in modern history as recently as the Willie Horton ads. They did this to great effect, during, presidential campaigns. But now, holy crap, I mean, we're supposed to be afraid of everything except them. And they are the threat to democracy. They are the only impediment we have to the progress that we've been making. And, you might sit there and go, what progress, Randy? What progress have we made? Well, unemployment has gone from 6.5% to 3.7% during Biden's term. It is a record low unemployment rate. Now, more Americans are working today than at any point in U.S. history. Now, I know if I say that Joe Biden created 10 million jobs, some people will say, well, those are just people being hired back after Donald Trump said COVID was a hoax and that he had it contained and that it wasn't going to affect most people and that it was all just fine and ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. Say it, hydroxychloroquine. Remember that? Yeah. That it would just go away, and it was going to go away by Easter, then it was going to go away by the end of the summer, then it was going to go away by Christmas, then it was going to, whatever. Okay. So I won't say that that Biden created 10 million jobs, because a lot of the jobs that we see coming back online, let's say, are jobs that we had that people left because they couldn't go to their jobs because of COVID. But the real important statement is that we have more Americans working today than at any point in U.S. history. That's a fact. We have the largest increase in manufacturing jobs in this country in 70 years. 70 years. Why do you think that is? Oh, could it have something to do with the Chips and Science Act? Could it have something to do with the Inflation Reduction Act making a huge investment in climate, clean energy? Could it? No, it could. We got a historic vaccination program in place. Do you understand that 220 million Americans are fully vaccinated? There's about 300 million adults, okay? Maybe a little less. 220 million Americans are fully vaccinated against COVID, and it was free, and it was convenient. And what we saw as a result is a 90% reduction in daily COVID deaths since Biden took office. A 90% reduction. We don't want to talk about that. The largest investment to combat climate change ever. He canceled $32 billion worth of loans for students who were defrauded by guys like, Donald Trump at Trump University. Yeah. $32 billion to people who were promised that if they attended this university and paid for these classes, somehow they would be hired. There would be gainful employment at the end of the rainbow. But it was a fraudulent enterprise. And so $32 billion was returned to those students. $10,000 for every middle to low income student. The war in Afghanistan, although 13 people did die on the last day that we were at war in Afghanistan. The war in Afghanistan after 20 years is over. Not only did he rally the world to Ukraine's side as the Russians invaded this little nation, this little farming nation that grows the world's wheat, but we added 2 countries to NATO, Finland and Sweden. 2 countries that were neutral before are now committed to joining us in the North American alliance. Oh, that's bad, because Donald Trump was saying we need to destroy NATO. Why would he want to destroy an alliance that has served America and our national security interests for 70 years? Why would he want to do that? I don't know. But we passed the Inflation Reduction Act. It was signed into law in August 16th of 2022. It lowers energy costs. It lowers prescription drug prices. It lowers the cost of health insurance for people who are buying health insurance on their own. We made the largest investment in history to fight climate change. We will lower greenhouse gas emissions by 40% in 7 years. It's fully paid for. It significantly reduces the deficit. We have paid down the deficit by almost $1.5 trillion, $1.4 trillion in deficit reduction under Joe Biden. And these idiots are sitting there saying he spends money like a drunken. He pays for everything. And how did he pay for it? A minimum corporate tax rate of 15 lousy percent. A minimum corporate tax rate. He allowed Medicare to negotiate drug prices. He's funding the IRS to audit the richest Americans who cheat on their taxes to the point where you can now see that you can cheat on your taxes for years and years and years and years. Here we are, all these years later, trying to get Trump's tax returns because he defrauded the United States. We passed the Chips and Science Act to make microchips here in America, to invest in our scientific research, our technological leadership, our competitiveness with China. And just this weekend, I'm not even going to play him because he annoys the crap out of me, this Trump thing. But, you know, he was literally saying he had this great relationship with President Xi until the China virus came here. So is Donald Trump admitting that, he literally was friends with a guy who sabotaged America with a bioweapon, and it was unbeknownst to him? He was not standing on that wall? I don't know what that, whole statement of his is about how he was best friends with Xi until the China virus. So there's so many lies in just that one little statement, and it's very bizarre. We were able to do the PACT Act on August 10th to get VA health care and benefits for veterans exposed to burn pits and other toxins in our ridiculously declared and waged wars. This was the largest expansion of the VA health care system in 30 years. We got the most substantial gun safety legislation in more than 20 years. We were able to say that if you're a domestic abuser, you can't have a gun. We could expand background checks for gun purchasers who are at least under the age of 21. We wanted to fund mental health interventions and red flag laws and school safety. But, the Republicans are against mental health interventions in schools and red flag laws.
Randy at RandyRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, The Randi Rhodes Show.
So, back in 2010, Republicans tried to make everybody afraid about deficits and death panels. Oh, deficits are going to ruin the country. It turns out the deficits didn't explode. We actually brought them down. And by the way, as soon as they got a Republican in office, they didn't suddenly care about deficits and pass big tax cuts for the wealthy. Weren't paid for. Thank you. Man, we've got some outstanding historians here. That's good. Because you were only 8 when all this happened. So I'm impressed you knew this. 10 years later, not a single person has faced a death panel from Obamacare. On the other hand, 35 million people now have health coverage thanks to the Affordable Care Act, and Joe Biden just made it that much cheaper to sign up. So that was their tactic in 2010. 2014, same playbook. Try to make you afraid of everything.
Everything.
You had Ebola and ISIS and immigrants, and they were all coming to your neighborhood. That turned out there were no ISIS fighters pouring across the border. By the fall, the number of migrants, they were mostly unaccompanied children, had dropped considerably. And then it turned out that we knew how to prevent Ebola from reaching our shores because, you know what? We believed in science. It was very helpful in dealing with this disease.
Seriously, dude. And they're doing it again and again and again and again. And one just has to sit here and wonder, what is the dealio with Republicans that they fall for it over and over and over and over again? The border, and ISIS was going to come. They were going to pour in from over the border. It's always about the border. You know, nothing's changed about the border. Nothing, except now we actually interdict. We actually, send people back. We actually, catch the fentanyl that's coming over the legal border. And obviously, there's not illegals that are bringing the fentanyl in. The fentanyl is coming with legal border crossers through legal ports of entry because that's where we're seizing all the fentanyl. Hundreds and pounds and tons of it, because, listen, nobody wants to talk about the cartels and how the cartels get weapons. How do they get weapons, everybody? How do they? Because guns are basically illegal in Mexico. So how are they getting the guns, the cartels? Oh, that's right. We're sending them there. Every single solitary election cycle, every single time, Republicans get backed into a corner about denying science or about, climate change or about, the amount of aid that your state gets from blue states or the amount of crime in the red states versus the blue states or the amount of poverty in the red states versus the blue states or the Johnny can't read stats from the red states versus the blue states. OK, it's amazing. It's just amazing. Who pays down the deficit time after time? Who is the only president that had a balanced budget in 100 years? Be a blue president, Bill Clinton. I mean, it is just endless, and you fall for it over and over and over and over, and we keep on slouching toward Gomorrah. Constantly. You sit there and you lose your pension plan after years and years of contributing to it. And the Republicans are the ones that are stealing from you, and you never, ever complain. And that's your personal investment in yourself. Well, we rescued union pension plans. Yes, Joe Biden did. It was part of the American Rescue Plan. It was one of the highlights in the American Rescue Plan. That was signed into law in March of 2021. And one of the things it did was it rescued pension plans so that they were protected for you and your retirement. People got a $1,400 per person payment, every American family that made less than $150,000. The child tax credit was expanded. It took almost half of our kids out of poverty that were in poverty, 40% of kids. And then the Republicans came along and they would not renew it. For some reason, they like children in poverty. And you keep voting for it, saying that you're on the side of angels. You're not. You couldn't possibly be. And this Ron DeSantis comparison to God, I mean, it's so blasphemous. It's so unbelievable that a man would compare himself to God or say that God created him to be the protector of God. I mean, that is just ludicrous. That is some real rich crap. But it's not surprising. What is surprising is that the media hasn't caught up with Ron DeSantis' entire campaign that he's been waging down here on the airwaves in Florida. I guess people just tune it out after a while, but he's been comparing himself to God the whole time. The whole time. This white nationalism, this Christian thing that's going on in this country, it's literally crowding out people who are decent. It's literally crowding out people who can think for themselves. It's literally telling people that you have no autonomy, that you have no ability to make better decisions than Ron DeSantis. You have no ability to make better decisions for this country than Donald Trump. You have no ability to accept and respect other people who disagree with you. You have no obligation to them as a neighbor. But you're more Jesus-y than me. How is that possible? It isn't. It isn't. It's a perversion of everything that has to do with love thy neighbor. It's a perversion of everything that is included in the golden rule. Do unto others. It is the exact opposite. Why in the world are you falling for this crap when the person that it's being done in their name, the named person here, is literally a bully of women, a bully of children, a bully of Disney, an entire place set up for families, an entire place for family vacations. And he attacked them because they deigned to have an opinion about don't say gay. They thought it was wrong. They thought it was ugly politics. They thought it was political, and it was damaging and dangerous and bully-like. And he told his people to not go there. Said he was going to take Disney to court for some damn thing. Listen, Joe Biden has accomplished a whole lot of stuff. A whole lot. You would never know it, though. You would never know it. Why? Because the mainstream media bends over backwards and sideways and in every other position that they could possibly assume to try and make you think that there's an equal amount of accomplishment, an equal amount of respect, an equal amount of decency or honesty on both sides. That's just patently not true. There is no decency. There is no honesty. There is no respect for others on the Republican side of things. And there is no Republican Party. It's the Trump Party. And Trump's entire persona is as chief lunatic bully. That's why people like him. He's a bully.
To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Midterm results are very much always connected to presidential job rating. How much responsibility do you think President Biden has for this political environment?
I think the president gets a bum rap. By the way, he's been a leader on public safety his whole career. He's also fixing our roads and our bridges. He's bringing jobs back from China. He's capping seniors' out-of-pocket costs in Medicare. He took on the big drug companies. If you want to know why all this dark money's coming into these races, because we took on the big drug companies. He's helping our veterans with extraordinary health care, $250 billion. He's done gun safety legislation. And let's not forget the rescue plan that saved every small business and restaurant and live venue in the country. I think the guy gets a bum rap. I think he's working through the damage of the Trump years and the pandemic, and he's not getting enough credit for it. Now, we've got more to do, and he'll be the first one to tell you that.
You know, based on all of your answers to me, it sounds like you don't believe Democrats did anything wrong. You believe if you don't do well, it's simply you had bad messaging or you didn't communicate it right. Is that your basic take here?
Well, first of all, neither you or I know what's going to happen on Tuesday, so what do you say we wait to see? But secondly, look, what I'm telling you is we're not perfect, but we are responsible adults who didn't attack the Capitol on January 6th, didn't try to whitewash it. Don't pretend we're for law enforcement and then ignore 140 cops getting beat up on that horrible day.
Really?
We're not perfect, but we've got a plan for gun violence and for bringing jobs back from China. You don't like it? What's yours? We took on the big drug companies. The other side won't do that because they're awash in big drug company money. No, we're not perfect, Chuck. We've got all kinds of things we can do better. But we are responsible adults who believe in this democracy and who are fighting for a better future.
Thank you, Sean Patrick Maloney. Thank you. I mean, really, one party are the adults in the room that afford respect to people that they disagree with or vote differently than I do. And the other party is a party of arrogant, aggressive bullies who have no plan for anything. They just sit there and go, death panels. They just sit there and go, the border. Well, why don't you vote for comprehensive immigration reform then? If you're so concerned about immigration, why are you absent? Why are you AWOL on every single hearing that debates what to do about the border? They don't want to solve problems, okay? They like chaos. In chaos, they can steal. They are literally awash in big pharma money, in lawyer money, in oil and gas money. They couldn't give a rat's ass about you. The NRA's money, but they want to solve your problem. They sit there and they bitch and bellyache about crime and, oh, look at the south side of Chicago, a 6-block area in Chicago. This is what we're supposed to guide our crime policy on, is a small little part of the south side of Chicago. And we're not supposed to pay attention to the crime problem in Arkansas or the methamphetamine, in southern Ohio, or the opioid epidemic across the whole country. We're not supposed to talk about any of that. Because they don't want to solve your problems. They like chaos. I mean, it's just so sick. And they never, ever, ever change their rap. It's always the same. Be afraid. Be very, very afraid. But yes, we would like to bring our jobs back from China. So we did something about doing that. It's called the Chips and Science Act. Yes, we wanted to do something about COVID. So we did the American Recovery Act, and a very speedy, convenient, easy way to get 220 million Americans vaccinated against COVID. And guess what happened? COVID deaths plummeted by 90%. Holy crap. Yes, we wanted to take on Big Pharma. Yes, for years and years, decades even. We've been threatening that somebody is going to allow Medicare to negotiate, the big businessman, the art of the steal guy, whatever. Okay. Oh, he's all about negotiation. He was all about negotiations, right? But no, not for Medicare, the largest purchaser of prescription drugs. They shouldn't negotiate with Big Pharma. No. It's amazing. It's just stunning. Alfred in California.
Hi, Randy. Love your show. Love your preparation in the. Anyhow, I'll get to my point here.
Okay.
They keep talking about how the inflation is the worst that's been in 40 years. Well, their previous deity, Ronald Reagan, was president 40 years ago. That was my main point.
Yes, it was.
To underscore the fact that inflation is a recurring factor no matter who's president. It's a feature of unregulated capitalism. That's all.
Yeah, no, and you're welcome. What's going on here is part supply chain breakdown because of COVID, and a lot of it is gouging. A lot of it is corporate gouging. Meaning, okay, so I go to the grocery store every Saturday, and I shop for me and my mother. It's not important. What's important is that every Saturday I have to buy stuff. And sometimes I go down the aisle and let's say a bag of coffee, okay, a little bag of Dunkin' Donuts, the small bag that I buy for work, okay, the ground coffee, not fancy, not the Keurig K-cups, nothing just a bag of coffee, okay. Sometimes it's $6.99. Sometimes it's $10.99. What? Yeah. And it depends what week I'm shopping. Like last time I went and bought the bag of coffee for work was $6.99. The time before that I went and bought the bag of coffee, it was $10.99. They're just playing with us, okay? Playing with us to see if the bags of coffee stay on the shelves at $10.99, they'll drop the price. They'll drop the price to $7.99 or $8.99. And if the bags of coffee move at $6.99, then that's the price. They do it with my dog treats too. Dog treats, okay? So sometimes the dog treats are $6.99 and sometimes they're $15. They're $14.99. Why is that? Well, when they're $6.99, the shelves are empty. When it's $14.99, there's plenty. It's a game. It's a game. And there is a party that actually understands this and wants to actually have an anti-gouging bill, wants a windfall profits tax on big oil and gas too, right? But the Republicans, when given a chance, and this is real, this happened, go check it out, go look it up. We had an anti-gouging bill that was on the floor of the House, I'm going to say a couple months ago. Every Republican voted against anti-gouging legislation. They want gouging. They were for it. They were not for a bill that would have said you can't gouge people in a time of uncertainty. You can't just do that. But they'll tell you, oh, no, we voted against price fixing. Nobody wanted a price fix. They just wanted to compare what it cost to make the product versus what the profit margin built into the price was. That's what Katie Porter was. She had hearings about it, and everybody could see that the cost of things had nothing to do with the cost of making them, had nothing to do with the cost of labor. It had to do with the profits. The profit margins got bigger and bigger and bigger. That's called gouging. Unreal.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
This inflationary period is different, and that's what the study shows. That's what the research shows that I was talking about in the hearing that you just played. 54 cents of every extra dollar that we are being asked to pay is going to corporate profits. And here's why. Because the market power of these big corporations has grown. As small businesses, medium-sized businesses have been gobbled up by larger businesses, squeezed out by the pandemic, unable to deal with their supply chain issues, the largest corporations bankrolled by Wall Street have gotten more and more powerful. So what we find is that the biggest price gouging goes on in the very industries where there are the biggest players. Things like big oil, where we only have a handful of companies that dominate the market and control the supply.
And in fact, as far as I can tell, and I've seen some of this on some of the business networks and in the business press, when speaking to investors, some of the CEOs of these entities are quite frank about this. They use the term sometimes pricing power to describe why they're able to now, in this environment, extract more profits.
No, absolutely. And let's be clear about what pricing power feels like to the mom like me in the grocery store. It feels like getting ripped off by Wall Street, because that's exactly what's happening. And the American people understand this. They understand that they're being asked to pay more for, in some cases, less product. And it's unfair and it's wrong. It's an economy that is centered on Wall Street rather than being centered on workers. And Republicans have made very clear that if they win back this Congress, the very first thing they're going to do is give Wall Street an even bigger handout in the form of corporate tax cuts. That's the wrong direction. What we need to be doing is focusing on increasing competition, which helps consumers pay fair prices.
Exactly. And why is it anti-American to say you're for competition now? Why is it, against Republican, mantra, Republican, religion to say you're for more competitors in a marketplace? And, she's right about everything she just said. It is easy to see that 54 cents of every dollar that we're spending is going to corporate profits instead of going to increase labor costs. This is what she was looking at. She was looking at Well, is the result inflation because it's costing more for labor to make the product? No. Is it costing more because raw materials are costing more? No. It's costing more because profit margins have increased, and they're literally gouging you. And they can do it because there's so few competitors in the marketplace. And it's true. It's absolutely true. And so now if you go and buy, I don't know, a bag of tortillas. I did. I bought a thing of tortillas, okay? And instead of 8 tortillas in my little bag there, it's twice the price, and there's only 6 tortillas in there. So if there's a family of 4 and each person has 2, you have to buy 2 packages now at an increased price. I mean, this is just crazy, but that's what is going on. That's what's happening. And some people understand it, like Katie Porter. And some people understand it like Joe Biden. And some people understand it like our Commerce Secretary, okay? And some people don't and want to blame other people. Instead of saying we need a more competitive marketplace. We need more people providing American energy, not less people providing American energy. We need more ideas about how to power our country, not fewer ideas. We need more electric charging stations along the highway, not no electric charging stations along the highway, so that the Republicans can say, oh, electric cars are bullcrap because where are you going to charge them? Well, what if we had battery exchange along the interstates? What if you could just pull in, take your battery, put it in a box, and then you take a new battery and you're on your way? Oh, well, that might work. Yeah, and that's what they can't have. They can't have something that works. They need to perpetuate the gravy train of big oil and gas money supporting their party. They disrespect us every single time they talk about the situation we're in the 21st century. They've disrespected us on science and healthcare and computer chips and China and Chinese manufacturing and bottlenecks and transportation and everything else that goes along with it. They just disrespect us when they talk to us like we're idiots. I'm so tired of the disrespect. I swear to God, if there's any message you get ahead of voting tomorrow, I want you to get the message that there is a party in America that truly has no respect for you. They have no respect for your opinion. They have no respect for your intellect. They have no respect for your ability to make choices for your own family, for your own body, for your own self. And they want us also to believe, here's another little thing that's so disrespectful. They want us to believe that they took away women's rights and that in just a few short months, women got over it. We just got over it. We moved on. Oh, F you, okay? I have no other words to say to people who are telling women that we're over it. They took away our rights. Now they want to go after in vitro fertilization because some of these candidates think it's gross. Some of them do. Blake Masters is one. Oz is another one. J.D. Vance is another one. Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's another one. I mean, these people that sit there and associate with white supremacists like Andrew Torba, like Doug Mastriano, okay, who literally endorsed hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin to treat the virus and promoted anti-vax lies and said that there is no separation of church and state and said that the life of the mother shouldn't matter. No, only the cell. The people that are against how we form our families. They have no place in modern politics. They have no place in a modern democracy. They have no place in your head. I don't even know how you can like consider Greg Abbott, who was responsible for killing hundreds of people because he refused to winterize your electric grid, which is really his only job as governor of Texas. Your legislature meets once every 2 years, for God's sake. He doesn't have anything to do. And the things that he needs to do, he doesn't do. And then he just walks away. His DPS, his Department of Public Safety officers, they will not even go into a school where there's an active shooter for more than an hour. And he's fine with it. He covers for them. He lies for them. How is this okay with you? This guy is just completely derelict in every duty he has. Oh, and by the way, here's a little something for Oklahoma. Oklahoma, you do have a choice, okay? You've got this woman. Her name's Joy Hoffmeister, okay? She was a Republican. She's running as a Democrat because of the state of affairs in Oklahoma, okay? And your governor, Mr. Stitt, Kevin Stitt, was on Fox News this weekend. And he literally became the proverbial deer in the headlights when he was asked by the host, Shannon Bream, who's now hosting Fox News Sunday, to respond to the fact that a federal audit found that the state of Oklahoma mishandled $31 million in COVID money, a criminal investigation into state contracts, millions of dollars of state contracts, were entered into with a barbecue restaurant, and you funneled subsidy benefits to your own businesses. And when he was asked about this, he tried to BS his way out of it.
I want to give you a chance to respond to some of these accusations of corruption and scandal. A federal audit that found the state had mishandled $31 million in COVID money, a criminal investigation into millions of state contracts with a barbecue restaurant, and also on her website, your opponent accuses you of funneling taxpayer subsidy benefits to your own businesses. I want to get you to respond to those accusations.
That's the mother of all brain freezes. That is the deer in the headlights colorized. Okay, that is unbelievable. And then instead of responding to any of the allegations, first of all, he gave us a history lesson on how he started his company.
Well, again, Oklahomans are too smart. This is an election season with $50 million in special interest trying to buy this election from my opponent. Of course, they're going to be coming out with that stuff. J.C. Watts, it's disappointing. He's actually on the board of Paycom, and those are part of the folks that are trying to buy this election. It's like the George Soros company of Oklahoma right now. So he's on the board, makes millions of dollars. He's also a contractor with some of the other Democratic operatives. And so no surprise there. But Oklahomans can see through that. And I think that's why Americans are so disappointed with the lies and the chaos and the...
This was a federal investigation. These were the findings of the investigation. It was a federal audit. $31 million in COVID money went missing, and a criminal investigation is now underway into state contracts that went to a barbecue restaurant, and he's blaming J.C. Watts? Are you kidding me?